Recently, someone left a comment saying I was too fat to teach yoga, and what could I possibly know about nutrition looking the way that I do now? And the interesting thing is, part of what they said and saw is true. My body is larger than it has been in other seasons of my life. I've been as low as 15% body fat and as high as 54%. I've been a competitive bodybuilder, a power lifter, a boxer. I trained in Krav Maga, a runner. I've been a personal trainer, a nutrition educator, a body worker, and a whole food plant-based chef. I've been eating a whole food plant-based diet for nearly 8 years and reversed my type 2 diabetes. So when I read the comment, it wasn't the facts that caught my attention. It was the assumption behind them. The assumption that a single snapshot of someone's chapter in their life somehow tells the whole story. Because my body has never told just one story. It's told the story of strength, of discipline, of grief, of stress, of healing, of abuse, of surviving, of beauty, of adventure, and love. And if I'm lucky, I will continue telling many more stories to come. A younger version of me would have been devastated by that comment, not because I didn't know better, but because I did. I had the knowledge, the discipline, the willpower. I had already achieved many of the goals people associate with health and fitness, and yet despite all of it, I still carried a belief that my worth lived somewhere on the outside of me. In my early 20s, I found myself in an abusive relationship, and my body responded in the only way that it knew how. It protected me. It carried stress, fear, and survival in ways I didn't fully understand at the time. And with that came weight gain. I was already grappling with shame. Like many women, I had spent years absorbing the message that my worth was somehow connected to how my body looked. And if I could just become thinner, prettier, smaller, more desirable, then maybe I would finally be enough. At the time, I was working as a licensed massage therapist where I was learning something very different, that every body deserves care, that everybody has wisdom, and everybody was beautiful. It was so easy for me to see that in others, and I honored that sacredness, but it was so much harder for me to see that about mine. I found myself searching for healing, for safety, for a relationship with myself. I didn't have those words back then. I only knew that I felt disconnected from my body, my worth, and myself. And I thought I might find my way back through yoga. So I went to several times and was laughed at because of my size. I was criticized and excluded. The message was clear: you don't belong here. And because I was already carrying that shame, it landed exactly where my deepest wound already lived. The shock wasn't just the rejection. It was the shock that it came from a place that I thought was supposed to be about sacredness. So I left. But I didn't stop moving. In fact, movement became part of my healing. I started working with a trainer. I found strength. I found confidence. And over time, that journey evolved into bodybuilding. And I'm incredibly grateful for that chapter of my life. It taught me discipline, commitment, resilience. It taught me what my body was capable of. But looking back, honestly, I can see also that a part of me was searching for something beyond that. I thought that if I could achieve enough, if I could look a certain way, if I could become impressive enough, maybe I would finally feel what I was searching for. And while I achieved many of those goals, I eventually discovered something surprising. I remember looking amazing on the outside, but still feeling disconnected on the inside. Not because bodybuilding was wrong, not because achievement was wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with pursuing health, strength, aesthetics, or performance. For many people, those pursuits are deeply empowering. They were for me too. But no external accomplishment could teach me what I had not yet learned about my own worth, and that lesson would come much later. 4 years ago, after one of the most traumatic seasons of my life, my body began to shut down. I experienced a severe autoimmune response. There were days I could barely move, days when simply getting through the day felt like an act of courage, and days when I wondered if I even wanted to keep going. And then one day, searching for something gentle enough to meet me where I was, I found a beautiful woman teaching yin yoga online. She had a larger body. She wasn't performing. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was teaching. And the love that she had for her body and the way it moved was inspirational. And I fell in love with yin yoga. Not because it changed my body, but because it changed my relationship with my body. For the first time in my life, I experienced yoga. Not stretching, not fitness, not performance. Yoga. The philosophy, the practice, the invitation to be present with myself exactly as I was. The invitation to stop fighting myself. The invitation to come home. I eventually went on to become certified to teach yoga myself. And as I studied, I began learning what actually was about. And if I'm honest, I went through a period of anger because I realized the teachers I encountered all of those years ago failed me because they were teaching poses, not philosophy. They didn't teach me that I already belonged. They didn't welcome me where I was at. They never taught me ahimsa, nonviolence toward myself, and they never taught me santosha, contentment with where I am while still honoring where I'm growing. And that's when I made a promise that I would do my best to teach the philosophy alongside the practice, not from the textbook, but through my own embodiment, through my own lessons, through my own journey. Because I never want someone to walk into one of my classes believing that they have to earn their worth before healing. That realization changed my life, because somewhere along the way, movement stopped being punishment. Nutrition stopped being about restriction and counting, and it became about relationship. It stopped being a way of fixing myself. Dedication was replaced with sacred devotion. Conversation, a celebration, a way of saying thank you. Thank you, body, for carrying me. Thank you, body, for adapting. Thank you, body, for surviving things I wasn't sure I would survive. Today, I still deeply care about health, and I still go to the gym. In fact, every time I walk through those doors, it still feels a little bit like therapy. It always feels like home. It's one of my favorite places to reconnect with myself. Not because I'm chasing a smaller body, not because I'm trying to prove my worth, but because movement helps me feel alive. It helps me process and listen and remember what my body is capable of. I still have goals. I still love movement. In fact, I smile when I imagine myself at 80, stepping into competition, telling everyone I'm missing my nap for this, so let's get going. Not because I need to prove anything, but because I genuinely love what the human body is capable of. The difference is that today, I'm no longer trying to force my body into becoming who I think she should be. I'm listening, and I'm partnering with her, and I'm teaching her she can finally trust me, and I'm allowing her to help guide the journey. Maybe she'll want to compete again someday, and maybe she won't. Either way, she's already worthy of my love and respect, and that's something I could not have said 10, 20, 30, even 40 years ago. I believe there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to become stronger, healthier, more flexible, more energized, or more vibrant. Those are beautiful goals. What's changed for me is the energy behind them and how I get to the goal. I no longer move because I feel I have a fear for some external reason. I move because I love to. I no longer eat to manage my feelings. I nourish myself because I already am. And that is the teacher I strive to be. Not the teacher who says, look at me, become like me, but the teacher who holds space and reminds beautiful souls of something I desperately needed to hear when I was younger. You already belong. You don't have to earn your place. You don't have to shrink yourself to be worthy. And you don't have to wait until your body changes before you begin loving it. The healing was never the pose. The healing was in the relationship I was building with myself. And when I look back now, I realize that's been the heart of my work all along in everything that I do. Whether you attend one of my yoga classes, a meditation or sound bath, a women's circle, a workshop, or you sit with me one-on-one, the modality may change, but the invitation is always the same. To come home to yourself, to remember your own wisdom, to rebuild that trust with your body, to reconnect with your heart, to discover that your worth was never something you had to earn. It's been there all along. Because I know what it's like to spend years searching outside of yourself for something that was always within. And perhaps that's why I love what I do. So wherever you are on your journey, whether you're just beginning or you're finding your way back after a difficult season, you are welcome here just as you are. And most importantly, welcome home.